Charged with organizing the 1964 murders of 3 civil rights workers who traveled to the South that year to register African American voters during the Mississippi Freedom Summer. We'll now show you that verdict handed down today. It's 10 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the courtroom, first let me say this to the news media before you finally are dispersed. We've had our bumps and grinds during the trial of this case, but overall, I think you've certainly earned the respect of all the local persons, the way you've conducted yourself. You've shown your interest in this case, but and I've had the opportunity to observe you, and certainly I say this to the media, you've acted as professionals. And we all have a better appreciation of you, not knowing what was involved, because this is a high-profile case, and probably the most high-profile case in the history of this state. And hopefully we'll not have another occasion such as this. But I thank you so much for the way you've handled yourself. It's a difficult time. It's always a lot of feeling and emotion in the trial of any case, and certainly of a case such as this. We have rights to be adjusted. We're talking about 41 years ago today on this anniversary. And nothing's ever happy in court. You know, court's not a happy place because we deal with problems, because we're dealing with the conduct of someone else. And the decisions are made are so important. They're difficult decisions on the part of the court, the part of the attorneys in the case, and the jurors themselves. It's a difficult decision when they realize that whatever they do will affect the lives or liberties of someone regardless of what verdict they return. Now we shortly will receive the verdict of this jury. There are 12 people who have been chosen by these attorneys here and Mr. Killen. They exercised their peremptory strikes in the selection of these 12 jurors. And the 12 that have been chosen by the attorneys and Mr. Killen have labored, no doubt, with this case. It would be absolutely wrong for those people who have qualified as citizens of Neshoba County for their decision to be contested here by some demonstration here in the courtroom. Recognizing that there are victims here, families of victims, recognizing that Mr. Killen is here and his family are here. This is not a place, this is a court of justice, and it's not a place for a demonstration of emotion. So I ask that all of you keep that in mind and conduct yourselves as someone who appreciates the system itself. Now, whatever verdict we have in this case, whether it's a verdict of guilty or a verdict of not guilty, you need to be reminded that with all the imperfection of a judicial system, it has worked. Whatever it is, the system has performed. And I want you to be satisfied with that, because whatever that decision is, whether you're in support of Mr. Killen, whether you're in support of the families, is something that we'll all live with. So if you feel that you're incapable of restraining yourself in emotion, I'll not tolerate an outburst. I'll not tolerate any commotion. The law officers have been instructed that if any of you should get out of hand by showing your emotion in appreciation of the verdict or in a disagreement with it, that you may be taken into custody, and we may have to take some punitive action regarding that. So I ask you again, please control yourself. The courtroom is not the place to do that. Let the record show that we are here on this day of this court. The defendant is here. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we will receive now the verdict of the jury. Would you bring in the jury, please? Have to turn to the page. That's fine, Miss Beth. More, please. The record will show that all 12 jurors in the courtroom, the defendant is present. Ms. Vaughn, you're still the forelady of the jury. And Ms. Vaughn, has the jury unanimously agreed to a verdict?
Yes, sir.
And have you unanimously agreed to a verdict on all 3 counts of the indictment?
Yes, sir.
May I see the verdict that you have found? Verdict that you handed me, did you agree to the verdict that was written here regarding count 1?
Yes, sir.
Did you agree to the verdict that was handed me regarding count 1?
Yes, sir.
And did you, ma'am?
Yes.
And did you agree to this
Yes.
verdict regarding count 1?
Yes.
And did you, lady?
Yes, sir.
And did you, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Did you, sir? Agree to the regarding count 1? And you?
Yes, sir.
The record will show that all 12 jurors on poll have stated that they agreed to the verdict that was handed me regarding count 1. Now, with reference to count 2, the verdict that was handed me, did you agree to that verdict?
Yes, sir.
Did you?
Yes, sir.
And did you?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
With reference to count 2, all 12 jurors have stated that they agreed to the verdict that was handed me. Now, with reference to count 3, did you agree to the verdict that was handed me regarding count 3?
Yes, sir.
And did you, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
And did you?
Yes, sir.
And you, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The record will show that all 12 jurors have stated that they agreed to the verdict that was handed me regarding count 3. Do not file the verdict, but read the verdict.
In count 1, we the jury find the defendant, Edgar Ray Killen, as to count 1, guilty of manslaughter. Count 2, we the jury find the defendant, Edgar Ray Killen, as to count 2, guilty of manslaughter. Count 3, we the jury find the defendant, Edgar Ray Killen, as to count 3, guilty of manslaughter.
May I see the verdict? The verdict that Mrs. Lee read regarding count 1, did you agree to the verdict that was read?
Yes, sir.
And did you agree to the verdict that was read? Ma'am? Did you? And you?
Yes, sir.
Let the record show that all 12 jurors stated that they agreed to the verdict that was read by the clerk. Now, with reference to count 2, did you agree to the verdict that was read by Ms. Lee?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The record will show that all 12 jurors stated they agreed to the verdict that was read by count 2. Now, with reference to count 3, Ms. Smith, did you agree to the verdict that was read?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am? Again?
Yes, yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
The record again will show that all 12 jurors stated they agreed to the verdict that was read by the clerk with reference to count 3. Now, if you would, Ms. Lee, would you come around and collect the notebooks of the jury? Mr. Hood, Mr. Mark Duncan, are you two gentlemen in agreement that we have a unanimous verdict with reference to the 3 counts of this indictment?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Moran, Mr. McIntyre, are you in agreement that we have a unanimous verdict with reference to all 3 counts of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I believe the defendant wants to poll the jury himself.
Well, I think that would be improper. improper. All right, I'm going to let this jury be retired to the jury room, please. Just a minute. Before you are dispersed, I know it's been a trying several days for you. The court appreciates your attention and your services. File the verdict. Sheriff, you come in. All persons will remain in the courtroom. No persons will be permitted to leave until I make that announcement.
Tonight, Vietnam's Prime Minister speaks at a dinner here in Washington, D.C.